Hello and welcome back to the channel, people. Welcome back to another Chelsea news video. It's been a while since I've done a Chelsea news video, but a lot of briefs came out today. At the same time, it's a club brief. Isaac Kinsella, Ben Jacobs, Fabrizio Romano, Matt Law, all the usual suspects coming out with briefs at the same time. So there's a lot to cover. So without further ado, let's get into it. From Matt Law, exclusive. Enzo Maresca will remain at Stamford Bridge whatever happens in the final 3 games of Chelsea season. Club intends to give manager at least 2 full seasons before any sort of performance assessment. Now, this sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Right? It's the same thing we heard when Graham Potter was here. Same thing last season we heard when Mauricio Pochettino was here. So take it with a pinch of salt. These owners and directors, they say one thing and they do the total opposite at the end of the day. But I think they might stick with Enzo Maresca because of this reason. From Matt Law, Enzo Maresca shares the same vision as sporting directors Paul Winstead and Lawrence Stewart. An internal view is that Chelsea have progressed under him regardless of their final league position and whether or not they win a trophy. So, Enzo Maresca is not the type of person that will kick up a fuss, like a Pochettino done at the end of the season. Probably that's why he got sacked, because he was saying that he needed experience. He wanted to keep Gallagher, he wanted to keep Chalobah, he wanted to keep Thiago Silva. All players the club wanted to get rid of, So he's not the type of person that will kick up a fuss. He will take what he gets and he will work with it. Also, he's not an experienced manager that can just leave this job and go into another top club, So he will be more content with what he gets from the sporting directors at the end of the day. So that's why I think they would probably stick with Maresca, because it's not going to kick up a fuss at the end of the day. But we go into this. From Isaac Kinsella. Although Chelsea have trended towards younger signings, older players at a world-class level with potential to add to the squad in other ways will also be considered. Well, if you are considering players that's world-class level, you're going to have to break your wage structure. At the end of the day, you're going to have to break your wage structure. You're not going to get any world-class level player in your Chelsea but under 150k a week. That's simply not happening. If that was the case, Osimhen would have been here already. Olise would have been here already. And these are players that wanted 200k a week and 250k a week. This team needs a spine. It lacks leaders. We've been saying it, this team is 3 signings away from competing for titles. We need a proper spine. We need a world-class goalkeeper. We need a world-class striker. And we need a world-class centre-back. That's all things that we need. And in order to get it, you're going to have to break the wage structure at some point. And it's not to say that you're going to break the wage structure for the entire team. No, you're going to do it for world-class players. They can come in, guide these young players. You only have to do the purchase once. Bring them in, let them guide these young players, and these young players will learn from them 2, maybe 3, 4 seasons in. These young players will become then the experience for the next batch of young players. And then you don't have to go into markets again to buy world-class players again, because you already have them in your team at the end of the day. So if you want world-class players in the team, you're going to have to break the wage structure. As simple as that. As simple as that. No top players coming to Chelsea with a wage cap of 150k. It's just not happening. From Isaac Kinsella again. Chelsea maintain trust in Robert Sanchez and believe they have promising alternatives. Should he not improve in Pender's current second choice Jorgensen and Petrovic, who is on loan in Strasbourg. Petrovic is attracting transfer interest. Exactly what I was saying. They wanted experience, world-class players, yet they are telling you that they believe in Sanchez. And if Sanchez doesn't work out, they have Penders, 18-year-old Penders, who hasn't even played in a proper competitive game before, in a top-level league. Then you go to Jorgensen, who is not good enough as well. We've seen it this season. And then Petrovic He's the only good keeper we have, but yes, they are saying this now. He's attracting attention from other clubs. And if a good bid comes in, I think Petrovic gets sold at the end of the day. So they are contradicting themselves in these briefs they are letting out at the end of the day. Because you say you want world-class players, yet you are telling me that you believe Sanchez can come good. Number 3 goalkeeper for Brighton, which is now our number 1 goalkeeper, who was last season our number 2 goalkeeper, again to being our number 1 this season. You are telling me to believe in this guy, when it's obvious to see he's not good enough to be a Chelsea goalkeeper. So these briefs are contradicting themselves already. So that's why I rarely do Chelsea news videos, because it's a bunch of nonsense that comes out. Really, it's a bunch of nonsense that comes out just to appease the fans, to make you say, okay, no, at least we are looking at this, at least we are looking at that. We'll get linked to Osimhen, we'll get linked to Goalkeepers, but we'll never get them. We'll go with the Delap, or Cizzo, or Ekitike. It's just, for me, I don't get my hopes up anymore when I hear transfer rumors or news coming out, because I've seen it before. You can only fool me once. If you fool me again, shame on me. How the saying goes. And at the end of the day, they made this fan base so they get the dopamine hit of transfers, of being linked with a certain player, but never getting that player. So I'm not falling for that anymore, unless I hear it's a year we go, this player signed, he's here, I will then get excited. But I won't get excited just to be linked with the player, because at the end of the day, we've been linked with top players before. We never get him. We always go for the secondary option at the end of the day. And speaking of that, from the Zaki seller, Osimhen and Goalkeepers would command high wages, but have not been ruled out yet. They will be on the list with the Lap, Cizzo and Ekitike. Chelsea will decide based on pros versus cons and the competition the club will face for their signature. Chelsea believe they'll end up with a very capable option. Exactly what I've just said now. They will sprinkle Osimhen, Goalkeepers, Isak in here, but at the end of the day, the guys they're looking at is a Cizzo, is a Ekitike, is a Delap. These are the strikers that we're looking at, and we're going to get one of them. Are they a big upgrade on Nicholas Jackson? No, they are not. They are not a big upgrade on Nicholas Jackson. These are all also young, developing strikers. At the end of the day, we're going to sit with the same exact problem next season, because now you're bringing in another young player, not to take Nicholas Jackson's spot, but to compete with Nicholas Jackson at the end of the day. Where Jackson also needs someone to look up to. He needs a mentor, because he lacks a lot. These players lacks a lot in their game as well. If you watch them, don't just watch a compilation of them 3 minutes banging in goals. I can make a compilation for 3 minutes banging in goals, and I would look like a world-class striker. At the end of the day, watch these guys. And if you look at it, the type of striker we need at Chelsea is a profile of an Isak, is a profile of Osimhen. How these guys move, how they play, how they hold up play, aerial threats, how they bang in goals. These are the type of players that we need at Chelsea Football Club. Older, established players that can come into the club, that can, be the example for a Nicholas Jackson and a Mark Q. So 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line, Jackson and Mark Q can then take over from that striker. But they will never develop properly if you bring in another youngster to compete with him. Now it's 2 young strikers competing against each other, right? But there's no one to look up to. There's no standard at the club for them to look up to and say, okay, I want to reach this level. You're only competing against each other, and both of you are still developing at the end of the day. You're not the finished product. We need to help these guys, these youngsters that we're buying, to become the finished product. Otherwise, they will stagnate. But anyway, then there's this from the Isaac and seller. Again, Chelsea are looking to sell a number of current loanees, including Ben Chilwell, Kane Chukwuemeka, Amanda Browser, Excel Desassi, Kepa Arrizabalaga, João Felix, Renato Veiga. That's 7 players that's on that list. 4 of those players was bought by Blueco. What are we doing here? We bought Chukwuemeka from Villa. We brought in Renato Veiga to be backup to Marco Corella. João Felix we brought in, and for the deal with Conor Gallagher to go the other way. 6 months later, we want to sell Renato Veiga and João Felix. Excel Desassi was brought in to be a first team player. So 4 of these signings we already want to get rid of. And they're all 4 Blueco signings. And yet you'll get people that will say, oh, what a good signing this is. The dopamine hits only that minute. But as soon as the player put his signature down on the paper, right? These are the same fans that will forget about him instantly. Like a Desassi, he was hyped up when he came in. Renato Veiga, soos army knife. João Felix, oh, we need João Felix. The same fans are saying now that he's rubbish, he needs to go. That's the problem that we have in the fan base. They are caught up in this transfer dopamine that we're always buying players, and they would make comps of these players saying, yo, this player will fit in nicely at Chelsea Football Club. But the moment the player puts his signature down on paper, they forget about him. What happened to David Washington? What happened to these type of players that we bought? Diego Moreira, who's playing at Strasbourg now. All these type of players, the fan base hyped up. They were making compilations for these guys, saying, yo, these guys are going to be the next Messi, the next Neymar, the next this, the next this, the next that. And then they are forgotten. Same thing. The next thing is now Esteban William coming next season. If he doesn't play regularly or he gets loaned out, this fan base will forget about him, just like that. They're all caught up in transfer dopamine. They're not looking at the now and what the squad needs now, not what the squad needs in the future. Because a player like Esteban William is a future player. At the end of the day, the squad needs leaders. It needs experience. And when I'm talking about experience, I'm not saying bring me a 50-year-old. I'm talking about experience. What type of experience do we have in the top 5 leagues? Look at Liverpool. They just broke their wage structure to keep Van Dijk and Salah. Experienced players that been there and done it, to help them going into the transition. And now they're going to have young players who's going to look up to these guys, and they're going to guide these guys into being the next big thing. That's how big clubs do it. Look at Madrid, they kept Modric. Look at Barcelona, they have Lewandowski. You have to have these type of players, experienced players in your team. Leaders. We saw it when we had Thiago Silva. We won the Champions League. With a squad that was nowhere near competing for titles. But we won it because we had experience. We had players that been there and done it. Thiago Silva, N'Golo Kante, Jorginho, Kovacic. You need experience in this team that will elevate these players. If there's no experience gonna come into this team, these players won't elevate the game. It's just plain and simple. Plain and simple. And for the last bit of news, from Fabrizio Romano, Real Madrid have formally sent contract proposal to Dean Huijsen, and his camp today negotiations are ongoing, while Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool remain ready to enter the race in case of any complications. Well, it's obvious to see Dean Huijsen is going to Real Madrid. right? If Real Madrid comes knocking, you go. He already made it clear that he wants to go to Real Madrid. It's that type of thing for him now, where he was dreaming of playing for Real Madrid. You know, he is a Spanish international. He's going back to Spain. Gonna play for one of the, not one, but the biggest club in the world. You know, and you know he's gonna be instant starter because Real Madrid need defenders. I don't see him staying to go to Arsenal or Liverpool or even Chelsea. Chelsea will be the last club he goes to. You know, he'll probably pick Liverpool if Madrid falls through, and then after Liverpool, probably Arsenal. You know, because we all know Saliba is wanted by Real Madrid, so you can see, obviously, you can see a pathway there. But what are we doing at the moment? At least Arsenal are trying to compete. You know, we are very, very far away from competing. So this is the type of player that want to elevate his game at the end of the day. You know, we are currently competing with Bournemouth. You know, yeah, we are a few points ahead of Bournemouth, but we are currently competing with them. So why would he come to Chelsea and not Liverpool or Arsenal if Madrid doesn't happen? This is my thoughts, people. So yes, people, tell me what you thought down below in the comment section about all the news. You know, and if you agree with me, what I said, like this video, subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. We're closing in on 1,000 subscribers. You know, we're nearly there. My goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers before the new season. But if we can do that by the Club World Cup, I'll be ecstatic. I'll be very happy with it. So let's go, people. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Peace.